Hello, and welcome to Workshop Wednesday. Today, it's all about getting started as our topic, and we're going to talk about using Google Ads reports in Google Analytics. Of course, my name is Chris Mercer. I do go by Mercer, and I am the co-founder here at measurementmarketing.io, where you can find our content on such platforms as Digital Marketer, Conversion Excel, Social Media Examiner, Seriously Simple Marketing, and others around the web. Of course, all of our training courses, everything over at measurementmarketing.io for you to check out. One thing is all you were trying to get from these workshops. There's a lot we're going to cover, especially with this particular topic, even though it is made, of course, for beginners. It's a getting started topic that we rotate through all the time here. But we want to make sure that you just get one new idea, one new report that maybe you haven't taken a look at, practice that, then you come back, watch this, and rewatch it to get additional information and a new one thing you can go take action on. That way you don't get overwhelmed. All right, without further ado, getting started using Google Ads reports in Google Analytics. Now, we bring these 5 pillars up each and every time because as a measurement marketer, you need to make sure you touch all of these. The planning, the building, the reporting, the forecasting, the optimizing. That is what it means to become a measurement marketer. You're going through all 5 pillars of this. How does Google Ads relate? Well, obviously in the planning stages, you got to plan for traffic. You got to plan for how you think that traffic is going to be what results it's going to be bringing you and how it's going to be bringing you results. That's all about the plan. The build is incredibly important because when it comes to analytics, you've got to connect the dots to what your Google Ads platform is doing. Obviously, we're going to talk about the reports today. Forecasting is taking that information and being able to then forecast out based upon what happened this week, what's going to happen next week type of thing. And then you measure against your forecast with actual traffic. That's where you're going to see where you're hitting the mark and where you're not. That's where you can optimize. And you're going to see in these reports actually how you can get that information. All right, are you ready to begin? I know that I am. Let's go ahead and dive right in. So I'm going to pull up Analytics. Now we're looking at the Google Merchandise Store, the demo account here, because I think it is the best spot to see most of these reports in action. That's mostly because we just don't use Google Ads yet as a primary traffic source for ourselves. So I can't show you that. But Google, go figure, Google actually does use Google Ads. So we're going to go and show you where this is. Now, first and foremost, I want to point out one very important thing is in the admin section. In order to have these reports working, and in order for them to have data, they have to be linked. You have to link them. You have to give your Google Ads account permission to send that information to Google Analytics. And then you want Analytics to have the permission to store that information. So that's what linking is. So in here, you'll see what's the product linking. Click on Google Ads links. This is relatively simple to go through and link up, but you do need to make sure that you do that. So you'll see here it says create a new link group. You can link all the information and just walk through those steps. They have made this so easy compared to how it used to be. The trick to this, if there's anything to watch out for, is making sure that the analytics account email that you have, whatever your user account here you're using is, that user account has access to the Google Ads account, right? It needs to have access to that. So just make sure you're using the same email, the same user account on both sides, and the linking is a lot smoother than it otherwise would be. So if you're not seeing your Google Ads back here that you think you should be seeing, it's probably because it's not shared with that email that you're using in GA. So as long as those two things are true, you will be able to see your Google Ads, and then make sure you link it to your views because each view may or may not have that Google Ads linked to it. So you just need to set that up too, and you'll see where to do that in this Google Ads linking section. Now, let's dive into the reports because that's the real reason we are here. But of course, we want to talk about, if there's no data, what do you do? So that's how you fix it. Now, in acquisition reports, you will see a big giant section called Google Ads. We're actually going to click on that. So we're going to go into Google Ads, and I'm going to start at this accounts level, and that'll pull up our first report here. So under accounts, it is what you think it would be, which is the actual account level. For most of you, I know it is in our case for us, there's just the one main account that we're using. We don't have multiple accounts. In the case of Google Analytics, that's also the case. They don't have multiple accounts. They just have the one big account that's reporting back here right now. But if you have multiple accounts, this is where they would all be. Again, if you have an account that's not showing back here, but it should be, just make sure it's linked. And then specifically linked to the view that you are in this case, the master view. That's all. Now, as you drill down, you can do this a couple of ways. It can drill into the account itself. That brings up the campaign. And then across here, you see all the different actions and results of that campaign. So here's the identity of the campaign. Then you've got the interactions that are happening in terms of the number of clicks, how much it's actually spent. Again, where is it getting this information? It's getting it from Google Ads. That's why you have to connect the two. But you can see your spend, the clicks that have resulted from that spend, divided those two things out, gives you your CPC, which is your cost per click. Then you've got the number of users, the number of sessions it's generated, and some sort of interaction information, some engagement information about how those users are interacting in that session. So again, 24% bounced here. There are 5 pages, almost 6 pages viewed. And then your e-commerce conversion rate, which again is measured by the number of sessions, not users. Very important point with analytics. So it's the number of transactions divided by the number of sessions. That's how that's figured out, not users. And that's not something you can change. You can create custom metrics like that, but nothing you can change here by the default metric that's here now. And then, of course, number of transactions and what the result of that transaction was. So tied to this campaign. Now, the other way to access this information is with the campaigns reports, which is our next report. The only difference here is that it gives you the ID. So if that's something that's useful for you. So you have your campaign and your ID, and you can see, of course, Google Ads logo. So it takes you right into Google Ads. So same difference, right? Clicks, you got cost. You can see it's the exact same information that's back here. The 1, I went to the accounts and I drilled down. 2, I just did the campaigns. Typically, most of the time, you'll probably be in the campaigns area, taking a look at this and just diving into it. But again, if you have multiple accounts, you want to roll it up to the account level, see how the account is performing, just check out your accounts report. That's the biggest difference. Now, some of these we're going to skip through kind of quickly, but I did want to show them to you. Tree maps is just a visual representation of this data. So it starts at the account level. And before I look up here, because it doesn't really look all that exciting, I'm going to give it a little more data. So I'm going to click into the account. What's going to pull up? Our campaigns, just like we did. Now I can continue to drill down. So what's going to pull up after our campaign? Well, if I go in apparel, it'll be the types of apparel. So headgear, kids, men's, women's, right? So I have all of these different types. Up here is the actual tree map. This is what it's called, a tree map. And it basically is just a very quick visual representation of the data. So here you can see most of the people that are visiting users are apparel all. Then the next biggest chunk is headgear. The next biggest chunk is men's, then kids, and then et cetera, et cetera. And it kind of just breaks it down, right? Kind of like a little spiral of squares is kind of what this is doing. That's a tree map. That's all it is. So if that is something that's useful for you, wanted to let you know it's back here. Just a real quick visual representation. What's the biggest thing? All, right? You can very quickly see that. What's the next biggest thing? Headgear. And you can see that spelled out. So that's what a tree map does. Just helps visualize basically this data here in this particular case. If you ever wanted to switch it, you could. You just go up here and change whatever metrics you want to take a look at. So that's the tree map report. Now, Sitelinks is a new report. Now, Sitelinks essentially lets you measure in Google Analytics the results of the site links that you have set up in Google Ads. Now, remember, site links, or if you ever go to a search and there's a Google ad and you've got not just the headline, but then other links underneath that headline, those are links to your site, right? The little sub links. Those are site links. You can set those up. You can measure in Google Analytics what the results of those are. Now, you can also see those in Google Ads, though an interesting side note, in Google Ads, site links, if you click on the headline of the ad, they still count in your site links reports in Google Ads, but in Google Analytics, it's only measuring the actual site link that is being clicked on. So you can see what the site links that are being clicked on, the site link ID, everything that's been set up, and then the results, which again, same thing we just took a look at. It's the actual engagement metrics that are coming through in terms of clicks, cost, and CPC, cost per click, the how they bounced, how they interacted, how many you got from them, and the results, right? Which again, if you have goals set up, you can also track toward goals that were being set up, which is kind of nice in Google Analytics. It's one of the features of GA is being able to flip around and take a look and see how these different site clicks, maybe they're not resulting in e-commerce, but are they resulting on a goal along the way, right? Another goal that was along the way of that customer journey, so that you could measure it that way. So that's what site links are in your Google Analytics. Again, specific to just the site link. If somebody loads up your Google ad in search and they load up the Google ad and they click on the headline, it will not show up in this report. This report is just for those site links. Next up is bid adjustments. Again, this is something that if you are using this, it will be useful to you. You can see in this case, Google is not, but this is what it does is this is a bid adjustments feature in Google Ads, but you can see based on your bid adjustments, you can say spend $1 for apparel, $1.20 for if it's on a desktop, 80 cents if it's on a mobile, 80% of what I gave you on a mobile, and you can adjust the bid by these different devices. So that's all this is for. If you are using that feature, you will see the data here. You can see Google in this case is not. So it's not in here. Next up is keywords. Now, keywords are the keywords that you have set up to bid upon. These are the keywords that you've set up in Google Ads, in this case that they have set up in Google Ads to bid upon. So people typing in Google Merchandise Store, it's a keyword they're placing some money on that people are going to, search for that keyword or this keyword or this keyword, YouTuber merch, YouTube merch. So you have all of these different keywords that are coming through. Again, this is how you set up an AdWords. You're bidding on these keywords, right? Now, here's the difference between that and search queries. So keywords, and you can send it, this is all the same stuff we've already covered, right? Here's kind of what the results are, the engagement metrics that are happening, how many you're getting from those keywords, the results by goal or e-commerce coming through. So you can do all of that by keyword. Again, how you're telling Google Analytics or Google Ads what keywords to bid on. Then there's search queries. So what search queries are, and this is the difference, even though it looks really close, but I'll show you a difference in a second. But to explain the difference first, the difference is search queries is when you search on Google that search, whatever that search was, that search in Google caused the ad to appear, caused Google Ads to show your ad. This is what they typed in to cause the ad to appear. So it's not the query, it's not the keyword, I should say. It's the query that you typed in Google. So somebody Googled something, in this case, Google Merchandise Store. They just typed it into Google, and that is what caused the ad to appear. Now, here's a really pro tip on how to use this report. Go to keyword. So we're going to do keyword as a secondary dimension, which is the same keywords here, and I'm putting them next to each other. So now what you see is Google Merchandise Store was what was typed into Google. The keyword, and that's what caused the ad to appear, but the keyword that it matched to, that Google Ads matched it to, was this keyword. So you can see here, and did that result in anything? Right? I'm going to zoom out just a little bit so we can see it all on one screen. So did it result? It resulted in one sale. So, with more data, you would see a bigger pattern, and presumably you could say, yeah, this is a really good match. So YouTuber merch to YouTuber merch, right? This is an exact match keyword in this particular case. Google Merchandise to just the capitals, the only difference here, but otherwise there. Merchandise Store all turned in here, and as you can see, there's all matching. Let's see if there's something that doesn't quite match. It's a little different. So most of these probably will be. So right here, merch for YouTubers was the phrase they typed into Google. Merch for YouTubers. That matched the phrase, the keyword phrase, YouTuber merch that you set up in Google Ads. So this tells you here, merch YouTubers matched YouTuber merch as the keyword. So merch YouTubers is actually what they typed in. And then what you're looking for is, does this make sense? So in this case, it totally makes sense. It's a good match. That's what you would want Google Ads to be doing. But then you might see, maybe, hypothetically, a ton of people were typing in merch for YouTubers, and you had no idea that in the search query, that's what people were typing in. You might want to actually create a keyword for that. And have that be a little more exact match. The other thing you can do here is in your keyword match type. So you can actually see, was it an exact match, which is why you see so many of them actually matching, or was it a broad match? So you can see which ones were matched by broad or exact match. And that could, again, help you optimize your campaigns, right, when it comes to search queries. So that's the big difference between search queries and keywords. Search queries is what somebody typed into Google, actually Googled, before your ad appeared, but then of course your ad appeared in the results, but this was the search query that caused that to happen. The keyword is what Google thought would match, and that's what it chose as the keyword. That's what you paid money for, to bid on that keyword. So that's how the keyword comes into play, and that's the difference between the two. So very subtle difference. But search queries before your ad, keyword is that's the actual ad itself that you came into play. Hour of day, pretty self-explanatory here. So you've got basically the hour of the day, so midnight all the way up through 11 o'clock. So 24-hour time. You can also flip this to the day of the week if that's something of interest to you. Just note here, it does not say the actual day, even though it looks like it would. It's 0 through 6. 0 is Sunday. So it's Sunday through Saturday. That's how this is. 0 is Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, Saturday is number 6 down here. All right, next up, final URLs. These are the actual, what they used to call destination URLs. So if you've been back here, fairly recently, maybe like 2018, early 2019, they used to call these destination URLs. Now it's final URLs. So same thing though. So if you're used to it before, it's the same thing, just a different name. But that's because they call it final URL in Google Ads. They're matching the vernacular here. So final URLs, that is basically the URL that they landed on with all the parameters associated with that URL. So if you have additional tracking parameters that are coming through that you're linking to, this is where you can find those. And so you can see, did this campaign actually link to this certain URL with all the different parameters? Now remember, UTMs, things like that would not be on here because they're being scraped off, as all UTMs are. And it's only actually using UTMs if you override it. So you have to set it in your property settings to override and use your UTMs. Because ads is becoming so much more useful in terms of what it can throw through its tracking parameters, you probably want to think more and more. Back in the day, I think you could override UTMs a lot easier with Google Ads, but there's so much information that it's passing through now that it may not be useful to do that. So, consider that option too of not overriding with UTMs. But again, finding URLs, you could use parameters and put through little unique parameters to your own URL so you can see exactly where they ended up. And again, guess what? Same exact thing. So it's the same metrics that you see back here, the same numbers, right? How many clicks? What's the cost? What's the CPC? How many of them am I actually getting? What's my quantity of traffic? What's the quality of traffic, right? There's the engagement metrics here. And then what are the results of that traffic? Next up is display targeting. This is specific to the Google Display Network. Anything you have back here would show that. In this case, Google doesn't actually have anything, so nothing for us to show, but it would be back here if you're using display. Same thing with video. So any of the TrueView video campaigns that you're working on, they would show up back here as well. In this case, Google is not showing any of that data. They don't have anything that they're currently running. And then same thing for shopping campaigns, believe it or not. So shopping campaigns, if you have Google Shopping set up and you're doing a shopping campaign within Google Ads, this is where that level of detail will show up. So at this point, you sort of segment down to the very specific type of ad that you're running. Most people are using the search, which is why there's the search queries and keywords, and everything else is pretty much coming from search. So that's where that comes through. So that is your tour of the Google Ads reports. So with that, what was your one thing? Did you grab one new idea, one new concept, one new report that you didn't know was a thing? Maybe even just how to use the reports? Because really they're the same metrics over and over again, just broken down by different ways to sort those metrics, right? It's still clicks and cost per click and the cost and your quantity metrics are in there as far as users and sessions and the results of those users and sessions and how engaged they are along the way to getting those results. Like all of that stuff is the same report to report to report, but you can break it down by keyword, right? By search query. Now that you know what search query is, the difference between search query and keyword, and actually how to tie those two things together. Maybe that was kind of a cool one thing. Or again, by account or campaign or a bunch of the type of traffic that you're running through your Google Ads traffic. So you can break it down by any of that. And of course, don't forget, you always can segment in Google Analytics as well. So you can say, I just want to see my mobile traffic in Google Ads by creating a segment in Google Analytics. That's something else to take a look at. All right. So with that, if you need a better way to know your numbers, if you're kind of got this down, you got a good team you're working with, and there's a bunch of people that really want to understand their numbers on your team, I would definitely recommend checking out the Measurement Marketing Academy. Measure.tips/start will get you there. It is our flagship product. There is a ton of support. There's over 150 different workshops that are back here in the Academy itself. You get Workshop Wednesday. You get group coaching. There's Academy office hours. In fact, if you are already an Academy member, every Wednesday at 3:30 p.m. Eastern is when Academy office hours starts. So the instructors are on there, and it's just whoever shows up. They share screens. We talk it out. It ends up being like this little mini mastermind once a week of just a little mini brainstorm power session of all these people coming together and talking about measurement and what challenges they're running into. And again, if you're running into challenges with Google Ads, it's a perfect opportunity to get help from somebody who can help you get unstuck and on the way. So there's lots back there in the Measurement Marketing Academy. So again, the office hours, definitely join us for those. If you are already an Academy member, of course, thank you. Make sure you check your email, Facebook, or the Academy group itself to join the live Q&A. And before we move on, Workshop Wednesday, that's of course what you're watching now. Not all of these workshops do we release public. Some of them we do, some of them we don't, but every week there's a new different workshop. So in order to get access to those, we'll just email you and give everybody access. We have a little free members area back there. You can get access to them. So measure.tips/WW. It is free to join, at least currently. So make sure you take advantage of it while you can. And that'll get you on the list so you're notified of each and individual workshop. We rotate through topics too. So this week was a beginner's topic, just kind of a tour and overview. Next week will be a Beyond the Basics where we get into a little more detail. So if you've got some experience and are looking to level up your skills, the Beyond the Basics workshops are perfect for that. The week after that, we rotate through with strategy sessions. So if maybe you're not an implementer, but you're just talking about like, how do I use these numbers? What questions should I be asking? Things like that. That's what the strategy sessions will cover. And we rotate those each month as well. And then of course we have our updates workshop called What's New. And that is where we go over the different tools. So analytics, Tag Manager, Data Studio, Facebook Analytics, and we kind of update you as to what the major changes were and the major releases and features that were updated over the past month or so. So you're always up to date. And that is the beauty of being a part of Workshop Wednesday, because you get them all. Again, you don't have to join them all. You don't have to watch them all, but at least you have access to be able to see them. So if they are of interest, if that week's topic's of interest, you'll be able to join us for that particular topic, or you just wait till the next topic rolls around that you have interest in. Okay, with that, let's go ahead and bring it to a close. This has been Getting Started using Google Ads reports in Google Analytics. Thanks again for watching this workshop. We will see you on the next one. Take care.